All right, welcome back to the final video of this series. I'm calling this one How to Use Your Unfair Advantage to Dominate Your Market. I am so excited for this. I've been sitting on this for a long time, trying to cross all my T's and dot all my I's and test it in the real world, and I'm very, very excited to share this. So in part one of this series, we discussed lean times. We discussed what that means, and we discussed what it means for investors. And then in part two of the series, we discussed unfair advantages and how having an unfair advantage can make or break even experienced investors when they get into hyper-competitive markets. And I know I spent a lot of time on this kind of higher level conceptual stuff. That's because you really need to understand those things in order to understand the thinking behind the strategy I'm breaking down in this video. So if you haven't seen those videos for whatever reason, go to adwordsnerds.com/unfair. Just pop in your email. We'll send them to you. There's links there. You don't have to wait and basically just get in and watch those videos. I want to make sure you watch those videos before you watch this one, because again, the stuff that I go into here, there's a specific thinking behind it. There is a reason we follow this strategy specifically, and I want you to understand that so you get the maximum value out of this, okay? So in part three, this video, we are going to show you exactly how to build and exploit your own unfair advantage in your market, okay? This is going to be far more tactical. You're going to get far more technical. We're going to get into it. So I hope you are excited. Now, fair warning, and I'm going to make this warning up front. I make an offer to work together at the end of the video. I'm going to give you another warning before I get there. So if you are a do-it-yourselfer, you're not interested in getting help, you don't want to work with someone to do this, you don't have to. I'm going to give you a fair warning before we get to the offer piece so that you can just bounce and go do cool stuff on your own. And then the people that are interested in that can stay to the end. Okay? So fair warning. Now, we talked about this in the previous video. There are 4 major categories of unfair advantage. And I talked about two being the ones that are primarily the unfair advantages, right? Positional and acquisitional. Okay, the other two are advantages, not necessarily unfair advantages. And in this approach, I'm going to focus almost entirely on acquisitional advantage, meaning I am building an exclusive audience. And that's because it's the fastest way to do it. It's the easiest way for most investors to do it. It's not going to take as much time as building a powerful brand or building a really large budget or developing new marketing tactics. It's going to be all focused on acquisitional advantage. And if you watch the other video, you should understand why that is. But we're going to focus on this final advantage here. Now, what are the fastest ways to achieve this unfair advantage? This acquisitional advantage, again, we're talking about an audience that only we can market to. What's the fastest way to do that? Well, there are 3 major elements that I think combine to make this very easy and very fast to do right now. The first is we're going into pay-per-click, PPC. And the reason we're doing that instead of trying to do this in search engine optimization or even in direct mail or some other channel is because of a couple things. One, pay-per-click gives us speed to market. We can launch this very, very quickly. 2, it gives us objective data so we can see very clearly how many clicks we're getting, how many conversions. We can track those conversions to deals so we get a real clear sense of what we're paying for and what we're getting. And finally, targetability. It's very easy to jump in, target a very specific, you could do this in one zip code, right? You could do this in a 1-mile radius around your house if you want. So it's really fast to get to market, gives us really objective data, and allows us to really zero in on the market we want. Second, even within that pay-per-click umbrella, we're going to be using Facebook. And most people know us as an AdWords company. Obviously, my company's name is AdWords Nerds. I love AdWords. For this application, we are primarily using Facebook for a couple reasons. One, the segmentation is really powerful within Facebook. It's really easy to slice and dice a particular part of the population, whereas in AdWords, we don't really have that capability in the same way. And The second thing, which is no small thing, is low ad costs. Right now, AdWords is expensive. The quality is high, but it's expensive. So when we do experiments like this, or when we mess around with new audiences, I like to roll them out first in a cheaper channel so we can see if it works. And then that way we can roll it into more expensive channels later if we want to do that. And the final element, so we've got pay-per-click, we're doing Facebook. Final element here is market cycling. And I'm going to explain what that means in a lot of those videos. If you don't know, don't worry about it. In fact, you probably don't know because it's a word I made up for this specific process. But that's kind of the process we're going to be using over time to develop this unfair advantage. Okay? Cool, cool, cool. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is understanding that the better the seed audience we start with, the better this is going to work. If you think about this as a process of constantly evolving towards an audience that only we have access to, that's our exclusive audience, our unfair advantage, it's going to go a lot easier and a lot more smoothly and a lot better if we start with a really powerful seed audience to begin with. The one that I like the most is behaviorally targeted audiences. There's a bunch of companies right now that are offering this. This is fairly new. It's something the technology hasn't really been available to us before in the same way. And now there's a variety of places you could develop these audiences. But the idea behind a behavioral targeting audience is rather than targeting based on the keyword that they're searching for, or like we do in AdWords, or rather than targeting based on who they are, like we would in Facebook, right? So we target 20 to 25-year-old men, whatever, in a certain zip code. Like that's Facebook. Instead, we target people based on behaviors that they show that indicate that they're the right type of person for us. So the example in this image, which is just one that I found here, the example is this woman is, she watched a video about treating shin splints. She shared on Twitter something about running shoes. She read an article about choosing the right shoe. She searched online for women's running shoes. She clicked on a link about a marathon training schedule, and she searched Google for marathon training, okay? So if I was running a company that sold marathon gear or signed people up for marathons, I would probably target this woman, even though I don't have real direct evidence that she's my client. Like, she's not going online and typing in marathon gear in the same way, but I'm saying, hey, based on her past behavior, I think she's the right type of person for me. We can also do this now in real estate. This used to be something that was really common in e-commerce. It's right now coming into real estate. So for example, I can look at someone and say, based on their search history, based on the people they're friends with, based on their demographics, based on their income level, based on their location, based on the pages that they've engaged with and the videos that they've watched and the blogs that they read, I think this person will soon be ready to sell their house. So at no point are they going on Google and typing in, I need to sell my house fast. And at no point are they fitting into a specific demographic we already know about. Instead, what they're doing is showing certain behaviors that indicate that they're going to be ready to sell soon. Even if they don't know it yet, they're going to be ready to sell soon. Now, in testing, and this is something that came out, we were really interested in it. We did not know how it was going to perform, right? Because there's a lot of guesswork in that process. In testing, we took behaviorally targeted audiences and we combined that with our own data sets. So we basically took these behavioral audiences and combined them with our knowledge about keyword searches. We combined them with retargeting audiences we've built over the last 4 or 5 years. And we found that those combinations gave us the best results. So when we use those audiences as our seed audiences, we did a lot better than the sort of market average. But you could start with a seed audience from anywhere. It could be a direct mail list. It could be your retargeting audience. It could be a demographic that you want to target, whatever it is. We found the best results from behaviorally targeted audiences crossed with our own data sets from conversions from clients. But your mileage may vary. You want to just find something that you think is going to be relatively well performing. So once we have that seed audience, we need to turn that audience into our unfair advantage. And we're going to do this with what I call a siphon approach. All right. The goal is to drive the highest possible engagement and clicks from this audience. So remember, you got this seed audience. Maybe it's your direct mail list. Maybe it's a list of IP addresses. Maybe it's a list of emails you got. Maybe it's a retargeting audience. Doesn't matter what it is, right? For us, we like the behavioral targeting stuff, whatever. You take that audience and you want to drive as much engagement and clicks from that audience as humanly possible, provided you make it real estate specific. And I say like clickbait. I'm going to talk about what that means, but it has to be real estate specific. So we can't just run any old sort of click campaign. It's got to be real estate specific. But generally, you're not even worried about converting these people. And here's like a big mindset shift. We are not even really trying to generate leads yet, okay? Although you can do that. And we do actually generate leads from this step. We are not worrying about promoting our brand. I don't even care if they see our website. I don't care. What I want is the behavior. What I want is the click. Okay, so I'm going to run ads that are extremely driven towards getting clicks. Curiosity works really well for this. Indignation works really well for this. You've probably seen these if you go to like the bottom of a website and they've got these like around the internet. I mean, these things are clickbait central, right? Like, new unauthorized video could force Hillary to give up her White House dreams, right? So, okay, so if it doesn't matter what you think of Hillary Clinton, right? If you love her, you hate her, whatever, you are drawn to click on that. Like, what does that mean, right? It's like highest paid actor on earth and you do not know his name. Well, why? Who is it? Right? What's going on? I'm curious about this, right? The pictures are always like incredibly good at drawing your attention, right? They're selling this 1875 mansion for nearly nothing. When I saw why, I got chills. Okay, I don't even know. This is a screenshot. I want to click on that, right? Let me show you some more examples. These are from Facebook specifically, right? So they just wanted groceries. Nobody expected this. The arrow. What's the arrow pointing to? I don't know. Who knows? Literally, who knows, right? But it's drawing your curiosity, right? Probably the last thing I expected. These kids are cute, but 24 seconds in, you might be horrified. Notice how these look organic, right? They don't look like ads, although they are ads, right? They are purely driving people to have curiosity to click through, right? They are purely appearing as if people shared these. They're organic. There's not a lot of copy. It's primarily driven around curiosity. Now, you could do this specifically in real estate too, because remember, I said you have to be real estate specific here. We want the people that click to have houses. So if we just do something like, this one with the highest paid actor, well, all sorts of people are going to click, but that's not going to tell us anything about people who have houses. We need people who have houses to click and be really curious about it, right? So I like this one specifically. So Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran, aka the queen of real estate, reveals a brilliant tip for paying off a mortgage. So if people, first of all, this picture is interesting. You're like, what's this picture all about? Is this the thing? Probably not. But you're going to be curious. You're going to click through. And if you click through, what do we know about you now? Well, we know you have a mortgage, right? So now I know about you. I'm driving the click. I'm getting that engagement, but it's real estate specific. This is one I found on a website. The neighbors are shocked by how much I sold this home for, right? I might even put a thing, instead of find out what your home is worth, I might put a thing like find out why, right? Driving that curiosity, driving that click, right? If you were going to do this, by the way, if you're going to do this ad, I would run this in a specific zip code and I would pick a house in that market that sold recently or that I did a deal on or something so that people might even recognize it. Yeah, people are going to click that ad. And if they click that ad, you know something about them, right? Now, it can be hard to create these. And I'm specifically not showing you the ads that we run. And I'm not showing you the ads that we run for two reasons. One is the selfish reason. The selfish reason is I don't want you to run them because you're going to be less effective if you just run the same thing as me. But two, if everybody does the same thing, we tend to see really decreasing results. And it's not that hard to make these, okay? So I want you to make your own. And in fact, recently in the group, I shared a spreadsheet where I just have all these ways. You can just go down the spreadsheet, pick out these different things, and just make an ad from it. Okay, so this is the link right over here. Not super easy to remember, but I'll try to pop this below the video. You can jump in, grab the spreadsheet, it's free, and you just use it to create your own ads, right? But the key here is to remember that we're starting with a good seed audience, and then we're driving as much engagement clicks as humanly possible, okay? Now we get into the market cycling part of this. And when I say market cycling, what I mean is I am recycling my market to be better and better and better performing. Every single time I go through a cycle, I am weeding out the people that don't convert and targeting the people that do. So what does that mean? It means I'm jumping from my seed audience to a retargeting audience, to a lookalike audience, to a retargeting audience, and so on and so on and so on. And I can build huge audiences this way, and huge audiences that nobody else has. This is the key here, because we talked about unfair advantage driving out competition. Having an audience that no one else has drives your costs into the basement. So I'm typically going to run a retargeting funnel like this, or a market cycling funnel, I should say, through what I call the hierarchy of behavior. Okay, so remember, we start with the seed audience. For me, it's behavioral targeted ad. Our behavioral targeted audience crossed with our conversion stuff. For you, it might be demographic, might be a direct mail list, might be any kind of custom audience you want to run on Facebook. I'll run a clickbait ad that's RE specific, so real estate specific, to that audience. And everybody that clicks on that thing gets put into a retargeting audience. So this is the first cycle. I go from seed audience through clickbait ad to a retargeting audience. Once that retargeting audience grows big enough, and I'm generating leads from this audience the entire time, I'm going to convert it into a lookalike audience, which is going to massively increase the size of that audience. And I'm going to go through this process again. I probably won't do the clickbait ad again. Usually at this point, I'll do a video ad. So I'll do a video ad that explains a little bit about what we're doing, or what our clients are doing, what kind of investment you're doing, who you work with, etc. Now, the people that view that ad, anybody that views more than 30%, they go into another retargeting audience. And I'm going to generate leads from that audience. And I'm going to drive it and drive it and drive it. And then once it's big enough, I turn it into a lookalike audience. So now it gets bigger again. So by the time I'm done with this, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 times, I will have 3 or 4 or 5 different audiences of varying sizes and varying types. Some clicked, some converted, some watched. What ends up happening is that one of these audiences, almost always, is massively cheaper and massively better performing than anything else in your market. And because it's specific to your account and the stuff that you are running, it's going to be exclusive, and it's going to be your unfair advantage. So once you have an exclusive audiences, approaches that didn't work will start to produce for you. This is one of the biggest takeaways for us from this process. Ad types in Facebook that I would used to say, like, look, this doesn't work, it's not worth it, they start to crush when you have these exclusive audiences to run them to. So lead form ads, like we kind of stopped running lead form ads because it just generated a bunch of noise. It generated a bunch of people that didn't even remember that they opted in, that didn't pick up the phone, that were annoyed when we called them, all this stuff. Well, lead form ads started to work when we had our unfair advantage audience. Messenger ads, if you've never run messenger ads, it basically they try to get people to send you a message on Facebook, right? They open up a conversation in Messenger. That's incredibly powerful in real estate, because what's the biggest problem with motivated seller leads? Getting them on the phone. It's getting them on the phone. Well, hey, if they click this thing, they are in a conversation with you, and you can jump in and have a real life conversation with them. Even call them on Facebook if you want. That's incredibly powerful. But before, they used to just create so much noise, so many messages, or people that didn't even know that they clicked it. Again, it's just like the quality was garbage. Well, with these audiences, messenger ads start to work, and work really well. Even branding approaches that we used to avoid for investors because it just wasn't, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, as my nutrition coach often says. We found that they started really pulling in cheap leads off of these long tail retargeting audiences. So running podcast interviews, educational videos, downloadable PDFs. It's all stuff that like I would used to think was a waste of time for REI, but is now doing really, really well for us. And in fact, we have gotten to the point where we will run a different ad every single week for 6 straight months to the same audience. So that audience, every single week, they see a different ad. They never get tired of the ad. And sooner or later, something catches them and brings them into the follow-up process. And that gives us a very high lifetime ROI. Because remember, you go from a really good seed audience to a really good retargeting audience, to a really good lookalike, to a really good retargeting, to a really good lookalike. This whole time, your cost per click is in the basement. It's bargain basement prices. And so even if that same person clicks 4 or 5 of my ads over a 6-month period, they're still incredibly cheap. And that person that goes through that process is also higher quality almost all the time. It works really, really well. So what has been the result of this? Because a lot of this was theory. Okay, a lot of this was stuff I was excited about, but I didn't really know. And so we did a soft launch of this. We took about 10 sort of clients of ours, past and present, that were interested in trying this, and we ran them as a real world test. So we did this stuff for them in the real world, got into real estate investing markets, spent real money. What was the result of that? Now, this is the warning. I'm going to tell you, if you are not interested in the offer part of this video, meaning like you just want to do this yourself, you want to take that stuff that we just talked about, you want to go implement it, awesome, cool, let me know how it goes. Now it's time to leave the video because I'm going to talk to the people that are interested in getting help in doing this from this point forward. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a quick second, shut off the video if you're not interested in that. If you are interested in getting help and you want to hear the offer, and you want to know like what I got in up my sleeve or whatever, you stick around. Okay, so we all good? Good? All right, let's do it. So this approach has produced leads for us at 30% of typical market price for our clients. I'm talking about 30% of what those clients were paying in Facebook already, which was already one of the cheapest PPC channels in pretty much any market. The ROI on this approach for us has been ridiculous, okay? We had one client do $49K in net profit, that's not gross, in net profit from $7,500 in ads in 45 days. That is massive, not just in terms of the ROI, but in terms of the time it took to do it was incredibly fast. We had one of our clients put 2 deals under contract, got his leads 30% cheaper than his established Facebook campaign. So he's already running Facebook ads and doing deals. These put 2 deals under contract for 30% less than he was used to paying. Okay, awesome. And that was, by the way, a very competitive market. Actually, the 49K was an incredibly competitive market in Colorado. This one was an incredibly competitive market in Florida. So these are not like middle of nowhere stuff. These are in real markets, right? When one of our clients do 5 times ROI with us in 2 months, this was huge. This was, by the way, with a pretty small budget. So this was not something where, you know, people are spending a million bajillion dollars. There's people jumping in with like $1,000 and really getting an intense ROI from it. Now, here is what no one will ever tell you in a video like this, which is that, of course, I cherry-picked those results. I picked those testimonials and those clients to talk to you about because they did well. Okay. And it's a dark secret of the online marketing universe that, of course, when I make a video like this, I might have 100 clients, maybe 90 of them didn't do well. I'm going to pick the 10 that did really well and show them to you and make you see, you know, make it feel like I can do no wrong and I just crush it all the time. Okay. But nothing works all the time in every market. That is absolute marketing BS. It drives me crazy when other people talk like that. It just isn't the case. You are a real estate professional. If you've watched this long enough, you know that. I am too. Nothing works every time in every market. That's just not the way it works, okay? However, in our original test, so I took on 10 clients to do this test with, about 25% of those saw results no better than their existing campaigns. So out of those 10, 4 of those, is that 4? Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to do math. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. 2.5, whatever it is. Our original test, right? We had about a quarter of those people just not do better than what they were running already. Whether they were running AdWords or Facebook or whatever, it wasn't that great for them and they didn't want to keep doing it, right? But for the rest of the people that we ran, they saw improvement both in the cost of their leads and the close rates. So both the costs and the close rates got significantly better off the test that we ran. And this was massive for us. It was something we were so excited about. And honestly, I didn't know if I was going to make this a public thing or not. We only did that when we saw that the results were there. So if I offered to do all this for you and I gave you exclusive access to both this approach and our audience in your market, the same audience we use for those other clients, you would get exclusive access in your market to that audience. Would you be interested? Would you be interested in having us build and develop for you a absolutely unfair advantage, an audience that only you would have access to, that only you can market to, that does this well out the gate? Would you be interested in that? If you are, I want you to go to adwordsnerds.com/strategy. AdWordsNerds.com/strategy is going to put you on the phone with Lou. Lou is amazing. Basically, Lou's job is to figure out if you're a good fit for this, because we can only sell one per market. So we can't take a ton of clients, literally. We can only do one per market, and we have some people already. So I have no idea if we can do this in your market or not. So you jump on the phone with Lou. He'll figure that out with you. AdWordsNerds.com/strategy and mention unfair advantage in the application. And that's it, guys. I'm launching this to this group, and that's the only place I'm putting it. I'll send it to my mailing list tomorrow, and then once it's done, it's done. Because I'm pretty convinced that the people that jump in here are never going to leave, because it's regionally exclusive and the results have been there. Again, nothing's 100%, and I can't guarantee anything because that's just me being real. But I'm very excited about this. So if you want some help setting this up, let us know. Hope these videos were useful for you no matter which way you decide to go. And I'll talk to you soon. Let me know what you think.